Hey folks, today we're talking about the SOG Trident Desert Camo, model number TF-5. Here's the box it comes in. I've been carrying this knife for about two and a half weeks now. I love it. It is my first SOG knife, and I've been very impressed with it. I am fairly new to the knife culture. I've spent most of my adult life involved with guns, and haven't really paid a lot of attention to knives since I think my teenage years. I was more interested. But recently on YouTube, since a lot of you guys out there are doing knife reviews, I have become more interested in knives. And I have always carried a knife with me, but I guess I just really wasn't that into them. For me, it was strictly utilitarian. I carried a pocket knife. I've had the Gerber Evo. I think I've had it for 7 years now. I did buy a replacement at one time. I had one stolen from me in an armed robbery, so I did get a replacement. But that knife, I've carried that particular model for 7 years. So for me, you know, this is a new experience. I do have a K-bar. I've had a couple other knives I've collect. You know, but as far as having a whole bunch of knives sitting around, I haven't done that. So this SOG here was a nice surprise, and I really love it. And in fact, this knife here is my everyday carry knife now, or it will be. I've only had it 2 weeks, but it will be my everyday carry knife. I use it a lot. Really like it. So the blade length on it is 3.75 inches. It is partially serrated. It's a Bowie style blade, and it is made of AUS 8 steel, and the HRC is 57 to 58. I'm not sure exactly, you know, like I said, I am new to knives, so I'm still learning the terminology and stuff like that. But one thing I was really impressed with is the sharpness of this blade. It seems just a little bit sharper than a lot of knives or any of the other knives I own. I don't know if it's the heat treatment or what it is they do to it, but it is very sharp. And we'll see. I've only had it 2 weeks, as I said, so we'll see how long it keeps that sharpness. The thickness of the blade is 0.125 inches. The overall knife length is 8.5 inches, and the weight is 3.6 ounces. To me, this knife here is pretty light. It's fairly big, so when it sits in my pocket, you know, you'd think you'd be able to feel it more than I do. But because of the lightness, a lot of times I forget it's there. And in fact, I got to kind of grab my pocket to make sure it is still there. I guess I expect, since it's so big, that I would feel it more than I do. So it's actually, even though, you know, it is a big knife, it's pretty, for me anyway, it's a pretty good carry knife. And I was surprised a little bit when I opened it up at just how big it is, because it is a pretty good sized knife. A little bit, you know, it's about the same length as the Evo that I carried, but it's a lot more mass to it. And one thing also I'll say, I am not a knife snob. I'll just point that out now, since this is my first knife review. I see a lot of other reviewers, and not so much people that I'm subscribed to, but some of the other knife reviews I've seen around YouTube, you know, guys are, oh, I don't like this knife, and I don't like that knife. And actually, I guess, you know, and it could even be more on the blade forums, you know, where you have people that are spending $700 and $400 and stuff like that on knives, and, you know, those are the only knives that are good enough for them. But I'm not like that. I'm a utilitarian. If the knife is solid, it works, it's dependable, it's sharp, and it gets its job done, I like it. Add to that, the icing on the cake for me is a knife that looks cool, and this knife right here, to me, has a definite cool factor. It looks really cool. For one thing, I'm a sucker for anything in camouflage. Then add to that, even better, it's desert, and then add to that, it's desert camouflage. Can't go wrong with the looks of this knife, as far as I'm concerned anyway. The clip on it, I like it says SOG on there, it's kind of neat. I really like this clip. One of the other knives since my Evo, one of the things I liked about the Gerber Evo is that the clip is kind of a low profile clip. It's tight to the knife, and this little, not sure what you call it, but the little curvature in the clip is small, so it doesn't catch on a lot of stuff. I've never had an issue with a knife catching on stuff. However, one of the knives in the last couple, about two and a half weeks ago, one of the knives I tried to see if I wanted to do a review on it, this little part right here sticks out a little bit further. So it was easier to put in and out of your pocket. However, I was constantly catching it on everything and I didn't like it. A couple times it caught on my coat when I was taking my coat off, and it felt like I was gonna rip the clip off. It was kind of a thin metal and you could bend it easy, and I like the solidness of this. The clip is reversible, and it does sit down, so it sits low in your pocket. So like I said, I mean, this clip, you know, it's a tight clip. It's good so it doesn't catch on things. However, it is a little bit hard to get in and out of your pocket, and I'm sure that's because it's new. Haven't had it long. I'm sure it'll break in a little bit more. One way I found around that is I took some 550 cord and tied it through here. Primarily because I like tying 550 cord to random things, especially things with holes in them. What I found was actually pretty useful. I could stick this in my pocket, and if I had a hard time pulling it out, pull on the cord and it popped right out. The only problem with this method is I haven't found a way to pull it out and then efficiently put the knife in my hand so that I can open the blades. If anybody out there has any ideas on that, let me know. One feature about this knife I really like, and on some of the blade forums there has been some discussion on this, I like the groove on this blade. I think that's what sets it apart from a lot of other knives on the market. I know some people didn't like it. They said it's kind of pointless. I completely disagree. I think it's a very nice feature. If you're out in public and you need to do just a simple feature, you know, cutting some 550 cord or cutting something small, whipping this thing out, 8.5 inches of this particular knife, you might startle some people. So it's kind of nice if you just have a simple cutting task that you can slip it right through here. And one thing I would recommend when you are using it, you do lock the blade. With 550 cord, this blade is so sharp it slices right through it, and no problems with the blade. But just for safety's sake, it's best to lock it, especially if you're cutting anything that's a little bit tougher than 550 cord. Otherwise, you know, this blade could come out and cut your hand or who knows what. It's, like I said, it's an extremely sharp blade. So I think the groove is a very nice feature. I like the jimping, I believe it's called, on here. The texture of the blade is good. Stays in your hand pretty well. Very ergonomic to grab. Feels good however you decide to carry it. It's good solid, you know, it's got some mass to it. It feels nice and solid in my hand. And that was one of the things that really surprised me about this SOG knife, is the fact that it is so light, yet it feels really solid. I would not expect such a light knife to feel as solid as it does. So, as always, if you have any comments or questions about the review, please let me know. And also, you know, since this is my first knife review, if you know, anybody out there has any pointers or anything like that I can add for future knife reviews, please let me know. I'm not offended. So yeah, if I suck, let me know. I can improve. Always a good learning experience. So Semper Fi.